Hi everyone, I hope you're all well. Come to you today on Saturday instead of a Sunday, but that's because of the book I have been reading this week. With what's going on in my life, same old work, that fun thing. You know, I feel bad. I just feel like I'm a broken record when I try to explain what my week has been like, but I think everybody is going through the same thing. I'm just looking forward to, in 2 weeks, I've got a week off work. First time off so far this year, and I'm very excited for it. So I just have to keep thinking 2 more weeks. But one thing I have done, I will say, well, it's not work related, obviously, in my life. I finally finished listening to the Bridgerton books. It's taken me ages, which has been really frustrating because work getting in the way. Because I usually listen to audiobooks while I'm working because it just helps me, deal with everything I'm doing. I just hearing a story, and because the work has been so crazy, like especially this past month, I just literally just haven't been able to focus to be able to take in what I'm hearing. So I think that lately the last like 3 or 4 books I've had to start more than once in able to be able to take in the entire story, but I finally finished them. Really liked them. I'm definitely going to listen to them again, and I thought they were really great reads, really great stories, so I would definitely recommend the Bridgerton books. So there we go. But anyway, I'm here to talk about the book I've been reading this week, which is The Silent Companions by Laura Purcell. So this is a book where this is her first novel. Now, a few weeks ago, I read Bone China, which is her 3rd novel, but the first one of hers I had read. So I thought it was quite interesting going back to her very first novel and seeing what differences there are, if there are any differences at all. Laura is actually due to publish her 4th novel later this year. I think it might be around the summer, but I'm not entirely certain. If I find out before this is published, then I will put it in the description to state the date it's due to be published. So as I said, this is her first novel, and I have to say, Bone China was my favourite novel that I'd read so far this year. This has actually blown it out the water. I am floored by this novel. How this is a debut novel as well, I have no idea. Honest to God, I would have thought that this was written by somebody who had written in the horror, ghost kind of genre, gothic genre for many years, like a Susan Hill. I, honest to God, thought it was that good. So what is this book about? This book is about a woman called Elsie. She has lived in London with her husband. She's always been a city person, basically, and her husband has recently died in his estate in the country. His estate is called The Bridge, and she's never been there before, and he was there to set the house up ready for them to live there together, and to move from London to there. And while he was there, he passed away. So it begins with Elsie having the journey of going to the bridge to, first of all, obviously grieve her husband, bury her husband, meet the household, take over the estate, and to add on top of that, she's also pregnant. So she has got a lot on her plate when she arrives. And when she arrives, due to various circumstances, she starts hearing strange noises and seeing things that she's not quite sure what the heck is going on. And behind a door in a locked room, she finds this wooden sculpture thing. It's not a doll, but it's kind of like a wooden ornament. And that wooden ornament has a quite startling look, that she looks exactly like Elsie but with different coloured hair, and Elsie's quite creeped out by this, and then strange things start to happen and it's all figuring out what the hell is actually going on. So, as I had mentioned in previous videos as well, I had a really great time because I had a reading buddy. So a very good friend of mine, Sarah. Hi, Sarah. She's very good friends with me and my sister. She wanted to read along with me because after I read Bone China and I was raving about it, she then picked up the book, read it, loved it, and so since I told her and my sister what the next 5 reads were that I was reading, that I was announcing to you guys. She said, "Oh, Laura's other books are on there. I want to read with you." So I've had a reading buddy this week, which has been really, really nice. So it was just like, oh, I have someone to chat with at the same time as I'm reading about this book. And we were pretty much, maybe we differed by about, I don't know, 20 pages or something each day, because it took us 3 days to read it. So we weren't that far out from each other. So it was really nice that we could talk along about events that are going on. And of course, my sister, who's also called Laura, she's read all of Laura's novels. So she knew exactly what was coming up. And she was actually saying, it's actually quite fun to hear you react the way you are to certain things because you have no idea what's coming for you. And oh my God, was she telling the truth? Because this book took me on such a roller coaster. Now, it's not often that books get to me, and when I say get to me, I mean to the point where I'm tossing and turning in my sleep, or I'm feeling chills through my body. This book had me feeling cold for days, and now it's even, oh sorry, very loud plane going over my house. Oh. And now it's 3 days after I finished the book and I am still feeling the chills. That ending was absolutely fabulous. It blew the ending of Bone China completely out of the water for me, and I loved the ending of Bone China. I thought that was an epic way to end it. No, this one went, no, move aside, honey, move aside. I, honest to God, truly am floored by this book, to the point where I can't find a flaw with it. All the characters were fantastic. The pacing of it was extraordinary. The way in which, because she flips back and forth between centuries, because you have a previous ancestor from like 300 years before, and her diaries get discovered in the course of this novel, and you're reading her diary entries. You've also got Elsie. In her time, you have got flashbacks in the house. You've got flashbacks with Elsie's past and such. It feels like you are, it's never letting you stand still. You constantly have this feeling that somebody is watching you. And the way that she writes Gothic literature is so stunning. I can't find a flaw in it. I honest to God felt like I was being watched in my own home, and I felt cold through my body for 3 days that I was reading this, and I still feel a bit chill when now 3 days after I finish it. For the book to do that to me shows you that this is bloody incredible. And Sarah was the same way. And she was saying that the power of this book and the way in which it tells the story got to her as well. I think it's exquisite, absolutely exquisite. And Laura does this thing. She did it in Bone China, but this one you really feel it, where she gets to this point and it feels like you have just been strapped into a roller coaster and you cannot stop what is about to happen, and you just have to go with it. That final day, both Sarah and I picked up the book. We were both halfway through, and we both got through the final 220 pages in one sitting. I just felt like I can't stop this. I have to carry on. I have to carry on. I don't care if I'm up late. I have to do this. And I just fell headfirst down that rabbit hole. The way that she pulls the rug out from under you with things that you didn't know could be possible. The way that she spells out her endings, and I've mentioned this before in the Bone China review, that she has this ability to structure her sentences so perfectly. She does the short, sharp sentence techniques that Stephen King uses and such. But I constantly felt like how I was when I read The Woman in Black. That I distinctly remember when I read the book and when I saw the theatre play, how it plays with silence and how it plays with sound. And Laura has the exact same ability. I just feel creeped out throughout the novel. And to do that, to really chill me, I'm in awe. I am in awe of this. This was such a good pick me up after reading Queenie the other week and having the issues that I had. And psychology versus spiritualism, which was something in the Victorian era, which is when Laura's books are set. She always sets her novels around that time. They kind of were hand in hand with each other. Victorians were fascinated by the afterlife and the possibility of spirits and such. And also when you go back to 3 centuries, the diary entries of her ancestor, Elsie's ancestor and such, and think about that time where witchcraft and such was so dominant in the minds of people. It's fascinating how she explores these elements that were truly important or truly felt by people at that time. There's a proper human connection, and I totally felt like every single person in this novel was a person, not they are a character in a book and I'm just reading the words off the page. I truly felt it all, and I desperately want to read this book again. I would gladly go on this journey again, just like with Bone China. I will go there. I can't gush about it anymore because it's just like it was a lot, but fucking hell, it was amazing. And it just put into another kind of way in which I view it. Actually, I mentioned this when Sarah and I were reading it together and sending messages in our WhatsApp group to my sister. I felt like I was in my favourite Doctor Who episode, which is Blink. If you know or if you don't know the story, I love Doctor Who, and basically that episode is about a villain, a dark force called the Weeping Angels, who are truly extraordinary monsters, basically. Because what they do is that they have this this thing where they cannot move when they are seen. So when you look at them, they're statues. They cover their eyes like that, and they're angels, so they have full wings, so that it looks like as you would see in a like a graveyard or something. And when you look at them, they can't move. But as soon as you blink or as soon as you look away, they are able to move, and they are super fast, and they feed off time. So they feed off the time of your lifespan that you have. But as soon as you blink or as soon as you look away, they move super fast. And it felt like that with the silent companions that were moving around the house and stuff. And I actually said, who the fuck is doing this? Because if this is somebody in the house that's just playing around and being an arse, basically, then they can go fuck themselves, because this has gone beyond a joke, the things that happen in this book. And that was at the point when I was like halfway through the book. And then that half of the book, I was like, holy shit, it's actually getting creeped out, and that doesn't often happen to me. And yeah, so I had a few nights tossing and turning sleep, but my God, it was so good. I'm really quite surprised it hasn't been picked up to be like adapted for anything, if I'm honest. But it would be interesting to see if it does get picked up to be adapted, how it would be adapted and stuff like that. I have felt chills for nearly a week now because of this book, and I really like it. I really like it. So anyway, I'm going to do a bit of a reading to show you the creepiness, as it were, and the senses, how Laura uses the senses, and see what you think of it. So this is Elsie on her first night at the bridge. So, oh yeah, she's been given a tray of food, and the maid, as she's gone out, she's accidentally extinguished the candlelight, and left Elsie alone in her bedroom. Nobody came to close the door or remove the food. Despairing, Elsie placed her untouched dinner tray on the floor and dropped back against the pillows. When she awoke, the room was as black as a weeping veil. The fire had expired, leaving the air chill. The taint of the damned soup was still hung in the air, making her stomach wreath. How could the maid just leave it there to fester and grow foul? She should have to speak to the housekeeper in the morning. It was then she heard it, a low rasp like a saw against wood. She went rigid. Had she really heard that? Her senses could play tricks in the dark, but then it came again. Hiss. She did not want to deal with another problem tonight. Surely if she kept wrapped up with her eyes shut, the noise would go away. Hiss, hiss. The rhythmic, abrasive sound. Hiss, 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 hiss. But what was it? She pulled the cover up over her ear until it muffled with the noise. At last it stopped. Her head drooped with the weight of exhaustion. It was probably some foolish nonsense, animals in the woods. She would not recognise their sounds. She had always slept in a town. It was silent now, and she could go back to sleep. Hiss, hiss. She started up, every inch of her electrified. Hiss. Teeth against wood, scraping. Blindly, she groped under the pillow for her matchbox. It was not there. Of course it was not there. She hadn't unpacked it yet. Her hand felt empty, vulnerable without the box. She had to be careful. She mustn't spiral into panic. Half falling from her bed, she fumbled in the dark for the gas lever. A tinderbox, anything. Her fingers only met hard pools of wax where the candle had melted. Hiss, hiss. The darkness was absolute. Her eyes refused to adjust. It wasn't like London. There were no street lamps outside. She was forced to inch along, feeling her way forward. The leg of the dressing table, a round, springy shape, a hoop of her crinoline. She manoeuvred around it, ears tensed for the sound. The very stillness felt heavy, charged, as if it were waiting. She placed her hand down and felt it sink into something. She recoiled and cried out. There was a crash, and liquid seeped through her nightgown. The odours of chicken and beef announced that she had crawled straight onto her dinner tray. Hiss, hiss. Elsie flung herself away from the tray. Black, nothing but black before her eyes. How could she get out of this room? Finally, she made out a shade of grey. She crawled towards it and felt a solid surface. The door. Struggling to her feet, she groped for the handle and pulled the door open. It was brighter in the corridor. She took a few steps out, her feet sinking into the dusty carpet. Little clouds floated up as she moved. There was nothing to suggest what had made the noise. Everything was still. Moonlight fell through the lantern tower in silver bars, and the marble busts glowed. Hiss, hiss. Elsie headed in a direction of the sound. She had to stop it. She would never sleep with that racket. Hiss, hiss. It came faster, frantic. Her feet matched its pace as they turned past the gallery towards the stairs. She was certain it was coming from above. The steps led to a narrow landing with whitewashed walls, the top floor of the house, traditionally the domain of the servants. She followed the sound down a corridor past the lantern tower until the beacon of moonlight faded to a muted glow. Soft flooring gave way to cold tile underfoot. She shivered, wishing she had brought a wrap or a blanket with her. She felt small, exposed in cotton and lace. She stopped to rest and get her bearings. Up ahead, a faint yellow circle stained the walls. Hiss, hiss. The noise was close. She put one foot forward and felt something brush her leg. Damn it! She cried out. She reeled, nearly losing her balance. Damn, damn! Tiny clicks sounded on the tiles. She did not dare to look down and see what had made them. The rasping, soaring sound was everywhere around her, like the voice of God, and just below it a steady beat. Footsteps. A yellow orb floated into the darkness, drifting towards her. Elsie braced herself, hardly knowing what to expect. The orb was coming closer. The figure of a woman loomed up behind it, her shadow stretching along the tiles at her heels. She saw Elsie, gasped, and they were plunged into darkness once more. Hiss, hiss. Again, something sleek and warm swept against her calf. This time, Elsie cried out. Mrs. Bainbridge? There was a sound like fabric ripping, then the flare of a match. A woman's face appeared in the flickering halo. She was well past middle age, with wrinkles puckering her skin. Bless me, it is you, Mrs. Bainbridge, up at this hour? You gave me a fright. I blew my candle right out. Elsie's lips flapped, trying to find purchase. I came... The sound. As she spoke, it started up again. The terrible hiss, hiss. So it is so atmospheric. It is so tense, and you constantly feel you're being watched, and it's chilling to the core. And this is a debut novel, guys. I am just blown away. This is very, just like Bone China, very kind of Rebecca and such, but this one in particular, I got also vibes of The Woman in Black and The Turn of the Screw and The Haunting of Hill House, which I have been rewatching on Netflix because I love that, and The Haunting of Bly Manor. It just took me to a world where I loved every minute of it, even though it was chilling, even though it was terrifying, even though it meant I was tossing and turning, and I still feel that chill. I loved every second. I want to go back to that world. And I think it was an extraordinary ride. So thank you, Laura, so much for writing this book. And to say this debut novel, as I said, I've read her third one. I am so excited for her fourth novel. I think she's got an amazing career ahead of her. What she's produced so far. Oh, I haven't read The Corset yet, but I will in a couple of weeks' time. I think she's got, what she has produced so far is that I've read is extraordinary, and I'm so excited for her. So there are my thoughts on The Silent Companions by Laura Purcell. So would I read this book again? Yes. Would I read any more of Laura's works? Well, I've read 2 out of the 3 already, and I'm really excited for her 4th one, so of course. Would I recommend this to anyone? Absolutely yes, and I mean anyone, regardless of what genre they read. I think this is a fabulous gothic novel that everyone should read, because it is wonderful. And the ending, oh my god. So those are my thoughts on Silent Companions. Have you read this book? I'd love to know what you think. Leave me a comment in the comments box below. Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, entirely up to you. I'll let you decide. And I will be back with my thoughts on the next book I'll be reading, which I've already announced, which is The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. As mentioned when I did my announcements, obviously I've watched the Netflix TV show, which is only loosely based on this book, because it follows a family and how they live in Hill House and the effects of being there into the children's adulthood, whereas in the book it's a load of ghost hunters and the man who owns the property. it follows. So I didn't get along with the Shirley Jackson book that I read last year, which was We Have Always Lived in the Castle, but that was actually her last novel. But I still wanted to give Shirley Jackson another go, and see what I thought. And I just thought Hill House, just because it's everywhere, because of the Netflix show and everything, I thought, you know what, let's just give it a go. So I'll be back with my thoughts on Shirley Jackson's The Haunting of Hill House as soon as I'm done reading. All right, guys, bye.